Three. Hi, everyone. David here.
And Richard here.
And we've got a big update. We've got a lot of really exciting news on the tech side. It's very hardcore. So it's great to share. But before we do that, let's do the soft stuff that people tend to be, less
Mm.
geeky. What's happening with marketing and reach out, Richard?
I think people have been paying attention will have seen us really kind of doubling down on the open internet kind of outreach strategy. And the reason for that is it's really working both in the traditional space on Twitter, where, the other day we actually out liked and out reposted the EU on one of their own tweets, which we thought was really cool.
It's
Bit of
it's
snark.
almost like it's almost like that kind of censorship is not popular with people, you
It's
know?
almost like people don't want to
Uh,
have to hand over their government ID to third party companies just to get on the internet. No.
Yeah. Oh, we've got to protect the children. Please
Yeah,
prove exactly who you are to use this website. Yeah.
exactly. So what the cool thing as well is we're looking at moving into sort of Blue Sky and Mastodon as well, because we're seeing, I think, really for the first time, the evidence that this movement is really growing, and awareness of the problems that Saito sort of is built to solve is really growing
Hmm.
because of these sort of issues include, and then also issues like European data sovereignty and stuff is also raising this sort of concern to people, and it's across the
Yeah.
board. It's not limited to the kind of more traditional free speech corners of the internet, but right across the board, people are starting to notice and think this isn't right, and they're
Well,
looking for alternatives.
people are going to beginning to realize things like Mastodon servers aren't free.
Right. Well, that's the other great side is you go and you kind of look to the people who've already moved to the Fediverse, and for whatever reasons they did, and their biggest complaint tends to be, oh, the servers keep getting shut down because guess what? There's no model to provision them and no way to
Yeah.
make money. So most of them are volunteer run, and then as they get bigger and more successful, they just become too
Hmm.
burdensome and people jettison them. So it's a really receptive audience, and it's a space where we can participate very actively. We've got the street cred, we've got the runs on the board, as I say, and so it's about letting people know we're there and showing them that there's
Hmm.
alternatives to kind of uh, going back to some kind of centralized model, or hoping that the volunteers keep your
Yeah.
infra running. So
Yeah.
lots of action
We're
there.
we're making great progress actually academically as well, which is
Hmm.
nice in the sense that we're starting to get recognition in economics for the problem Sato solves.
Yep.
It's really odd because it can be very frustrating outreach academically, especially with computer scientists, because they don't even really have the language. They're with economists, it's different. I've noticed that, well, we've got three conference invite accepts for this summer.
Yep.
One at the world's biggest game theory conference, which is going to be very exciting for us because it's a chance
Yep.
to go there and connect with people who actually care on a theoretical level about what we're doing, which is efficient, decentralized systems. But
Yep.
not like, how do we build a decentralized version of IRC, right? Like, it's not the
Mm.
computer science view of it as technical, it's a view of it as, economic efficiency, dynamic time learning. How do you make it so that the system doesn't fall into closure, right? Like, the words
Yep.
closure actually have meaning in economics. So it's great.
Yep.
Um, do want to mention, like, we're keeping up this kind of reach out. I try to make posts on Twitter because we think it's important,
Yep.
um, and it's really groundbreaking for us when other people see this and get involved too, because it
Yeah. Well,
amplifies the message.
yeah, I love
Hmm?
that response you got the other day from an academic who was just obviously really surprised to see not just someone working in the space, but the citations and the kind of depth of work that maybe people aren't even recognizing. So
Yeah.
it's really about making those connections, I think.
This particular thing. We're not going to dox the guy, but
No.
he was writing a paper. It's an economist, and they're writing about essentially cliques and clubs and communication flows. And I think this is actually why economics is more receptive, because in computer science, the papers tend to be, given these assumptions, all of this is impossible. And
Yep.
people are very, very happy to write papers that say this is impossible because it
Yep.
feels productive to them, right? Like, we're proving that this is impossible. And the problem is, it's not actually impossible. It's
Yep.
perfectly possible. Um, but it's possible in the kind of mechanisms we have in Sato,
Yep.
where there's no closure, right? It's like it's fully permissionless. And so, in a way, it's weird that, like, computer science, which should be owning Satoshi and saying permissionless mechanisms and systems are different than these traditional ones are
Yeah.
actually academically falling back into the trap because it lets them write easy math
Yeah.
papers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really positive in
I
economics.
I'm
That
just
email was great.
waiting. I'm waiting for the day that economists start talking about Saito class mechanisms.
Hmm.
That's the goal there, really, I suppose.
I'm waiting for the day one of them actually realizes, wait a minute, this isn't a small problem. Because
Mm.
it's interesting, like the traction we're getting, or people are writing about, we seem to get the most acceptance from people who understand that communication is strategic. So it's people who are writing about how, like, if you have clubs or if you have cliques or if you have associations and they share data, that some of the existing impossibility proofs weaken in ways they can try to formalize. And that's Sato, right? That's what a
Yeah.
routing path is. It's I share data with you instead of broadcasting generally. But anyway, it's very positive. Just want to mention, I do the reach out on Twitter. Richard, I think your work is more your reach. It's easier for people to connect with because people see the pain in their daily lives.
Yep.
Like but if you're interested in blockchain or people who are interested in blockchain, there's fantastic stuff happening on the foundations. Feel free to get in touch with me or the project. We're happy to talk about it with anyone. We love talking about this
Yep.
stuff. So,
Yep.
should we get to Rust?
Let's move on to Rust.
What's happening? Uh, you've been testing the code.
Yep. It's working. So the big thing is this week we got multi-node networks up and running, and we began some testing in earnest on networks.
Yeah.
So staging is actually up and running with the refactored code,
Mhm.
and it's continued on with the same blockchain. So that's some huge milestones covered, right?
It's a big refactor. This is not a hard fork. It's a big update. It's not a hard fork. The blockchain's the same.
Yep.
The nodes were syncing the same chain. We're participating. There are challenges upgrading the network. We're going to take care of it next week, maybe
Yep.
the week after, but it'll be soon. And
Yep.
that's simply because we've simplified the way network messages work, right? So it's much more standardized. You can take a look at the pure messages and know exactly what's happening. Speed and performance is way up.
Yep.
The Rust side is no longer locking bits of the system while it does work. So if you're playing games, you'll notice it's faster. Like it
Yep.
just feels a bit more responsive
Uh,
because there's less.
Everything feels snappier, and like the testing I've been doing has been concentrating on things like node joins the network, or browser comes back after it's been offline for a long time and it requests a
Yeah,
huge volume of light blocks. That's actually like light blocks, if you understand anything about the way that works, is the most cryptographically intensive and therefore compute like difficult thing we do. And that used to take our nodes out. Like that
yeah,
browsers going hell for leather saying give me as much of that as you can meant that the process on the browser on the node was running as hard as it could while that
and I
was
mean,
completing
and remember that while it was doing that, it was locking stuff. So these are
other.
things like we'd see issues like you're playing a game and then the server gets a bit jittery for a couple of seconds, and you're kind of like hitting your keyboard, or people might hit refresh or something, and it's just that dispatcher
Yep.
is so busy doing that work that it stops processing a pure message for a second,
Yeah.
and the
So
response is
yeah,
it just
the difference now
glitches.
is I was running one of those tests and I had to check that I was on like connecting to the correct node because the node wasn't showing significant
Yeah,
changes. Like so previously when you turned it on, you'd watch all the indicators just ramp up. Everything just suddenly
yeah,
got bogged down because it was such a heavy request. And it's not actually that we're doing less work now, it's just that it's scheduled better. It's just like a difference
yeah,
between
yeah,
a
yeah,
freeway
yeah.
with a traffic jam and a freeway without a traffic jam. It just makes all the difference to the to flow speed. So there's
It's
some
it's like it's
significant
like a single
improvements.
cop check in a highway. If
Mm.
everyone's got to go through that bottleneck, then
It's a 4 hour wait.
there's no
Yeah.
work plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of changes technically that are great for us that are going to make life more easy going forward for human programmers and for AI.
Yeah.
Part of the change, the middleware is radically simplified.
Yeah.
This allows JavaScript to be calling Rust methods almost directly. But it also means that on JavaScript, we've had some problems where problems have been hard to solve because it's been hard to get Rust actions and events and broadcast them into JavaScript,
Yeah,
right?
and there
We've had a
was
wallet updated event as
yeah,
opposed to transaction created event, transaction received, NFT created,
right.
NFT received. And so um, that stuff has all just happened. It's going to allow us to solve problems in a better way,
Yeah, well, I
right?
mean,
Like,
I think we've had these issues as well. For I've worked more on the JavaScript side, on the application side, than on core, and so you had this kind of thing where we had a weird like segmentation in the teams and in the knowledge, etc., because there was just sort of, oh, if I'm writing an app and I'd like to happen to know if I'm connected to a peer or not, so something like video call, and you're like, oh, I can't actually tell. I have to ask the Rust team to like write some non-trivial code
yeah,
to get me that information, and
you,
so you end up with this.
you need all four code bases to have these chained paths. And it was confusing also
Right.
because like the names people would choose sometimes it's not obvious. The code base now, the organization, the conceptual organization is amazing.
Yep.
It's super clear, super easy. If you're doing dev work, you're going to love it. If you're going to be doing dev work in the future, you're going to love it when you find out.
It just it creates a much more whole. I won't use holistic whole picture of what's going on, and it means even as a front end dev, the internals of Saito, you don't need to fully like grok every step that happens in consensus.
Yeah,
But having this kind of murkiness and an understanding of what was going on versus being able to say, okay, here are all my peers, or here's what's going on
yeah,
internally. The blockchain is in this state; it's syncing, it's finished
yeah,
syncing. That's really helpful just to kind of overcome the hurdles of I'm not programming client server against Google's
yeah,
backend anymore. I'm in this sort of different world, so it makes that transition way easier.
yeah,
Again, for humans and for AI, which then always assumes standards, and so being
yeah.
able to get a consistent view of the code really helps it. So,
Even consistent semantic naming, right? Like fetch is used now consistently for anything that's URL based fetch. Anyway, there are a couple of immediate wins we're going to see with this. We started because we needed to improve NFT performance and creation, right? Which is happening in Rust,
yeah,
and we're building the store in JS. So this stuff we're gonna be continuing with this. So the store, the attention can go back to the store. The reason it matters is the store previously, it's things like you'd upload an NFT and it's managing that, but the store couldn't split them and merge them itself while keeping them available. This is
yeah,
allowing to do things like you're going to create one NFT for access to your blog, you put it on the store, and the store will be able to sell it one at a time.
yeah. Well, I think the experience for us, what made us realize that this work needed doing was, we're fairly experienced at understanding the UI challenges and the dev challenges around making a peer-to-peer app, blockchain mediated app work for people, and we weren't getting there with store. We kept being dissatisfied with both the dev experience and then
I'd
what
say
we
it
could
was
make for
the
users,
UI
right?
because we
Yeah,
kept having to make excuses like, oh, well, it's okay if they split and merge beforehand. And it's like, it's not okay.
no,
You
it's
know,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
got to be super simple. So,
We couldn't build something that we sort of felt was as
mm,
simple as it should be for users, and
yeah,
and going to make the experience right. And so
yeah.
this now gets us, I think, into a place where we can do that.
Yeah. The big win, I think, as well, is now NFTs, by virtue of fixing this, NFTs are going to be as easy to send and receive as Saito tokens, which means we'll be able to add a special NFT type, which is a token type,
Yep.
which will be equivalent of the ERC20, except it's like Bitcoin. And we'll
Yeah.
be able to get it into that drop down wallet. So if you
Yeah.
create an NFT, it will show up in your wallet like Saito or like
Yeah.
these other Web3
So
cryptos.
you'll be able to create, I mean, a token to do whatever you like, but also then link them into, say, you could have a poker tournament which you issue a token for. Those sorts of things are really cool. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great decentralized tournament. It's like the
yeah,
first person to get X amount of the token supply that we've released is the
and
one that wins the
having
tournament. You know?
having that token can be your entry, right? So having you to enter, you apply, or you could make them
Yeah.
prizes in some other tournament. So to qualify, you have to win some of this special kind of token to play. There's lots of really cool
It's kind of fun.
applications there. Yeah.
So we got hard work with network updates. We're going to have to update the network on this. The big change, again, it's not the blockchain, it's not a hard
Yeah.
fork on consensus, but it does change some of the expectations nodes have about what data formats they
Well,
communicate
and they
with,
just the old
the
ones
response.
can't talk to the new ones, right? So we're going to have to do a stage rollout. We'll have to talk to node runners about that
Yeah.
because we completely rewrote those pieces of like how do they actually
Oh,
handshake and
the
connect, and
connection
so
code.
yeah,
Oh my god! But I mean, this is where a ton of the improvements come from. Like right now, and it's also why we've been debugging, and it's taken some time. If you connect now, you're
yep,
making basically requests in parallel that used to be done one at a time.
yep,
And while they were being done one at a time, they'd just be locking system resources. And so the entire process was opaque, not transparent. Network components were being locked simply in order to do a handshake. So
yep.
um, much better. We're looking, maybe we're going to be able to get the
Mm.
network update done next week. Where we are right now is we're still testing, which is why we're excited because we
Yep,
haven't broken it yet
yep,
and the data is looking very good. We want to make sure it's bug free before we plan this transition, and that
yep, yep.
might happen next week, maybe Wednesday to Friday.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
we'll
I think
another testing.
we've been playing games and things against the staging network, which is running the
Mhm.
new code. That's all solid. We've got to do a few more tests, like some of the stuff I was talking about, nodes coming on and off the network, make sure that all works. And then, of course, we need to. It's not so much testing as monitoring and confirming that things like, obviously we have to check total supply stays the same. We have to
Yeah,
check balances work properly, sending doesn't drop tokens off the network. There's nothing introduced, even though that's essentially impossible from where we are. You've got to retest all of that. It's just part of
yeah.
doing it properly. So we've got to run through all of that before we can go. But it's
Well,
all looking good so far.
it's the minor stuff, right? Like now that things are happening in parallel, the applications are coming up before the entire blockchain loads, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a little extra
Weirdly, things
safety
can
check.
get harder because you're faster, and so you finish things before previously you'd never anticipated being ready before you started, kind of thing. Like,
Exactly. Like in this case, you can be ready to send a transaction before you're fully synced. And
yep,
so you need to know when you're making a transaction, actually, these slips at the end of my wallet may not be safe because by the time I'm fully
yep,
synced, they may not be spendable anymore.
yep.
So,
Cool.
anyway, it's exciting.
It is.
I don't know how easy it is to communicate this stuff via
Yeah.
a network update, but
Yeah.
there's a
I mean,
lot of
that's,
progress.
yeah, it's been the bulk of what we've been up to. We have been continuing on with some branding work and some kind of general uplift and a couple of
Mhm,
sneaky skunkworks projects as well that I hope,
mhm.
once we've got this network update rolled out, we'll see come online in quick succession. So
You've
excited
got the
about that.
vibe. You've got the vibe of a German hacker at this point. So,
Glad glasses are not nearly cool enough. They all wear really cool glasses. Anyway.
but it's true. I've seen what Richard is talking about. He's teasing you. It's great.
It's cool.
I
All
think
right.
it's combined with video call, especially. It's amazing.
Yep.
So, um, so we'll drop. Why don't we'll tell people what you're working on next week,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
for now,
Yep. Yeah, we want to test it a little bit more internally before we blab about it. But yes, very excited about what's coming up. So let's get this
okay.
one in the can and get back to it.
That's the update, guys. We'll see you next week with more.
Thank you.